Quilting is such a creative exercise because there are so many different ways to combine the simple shapes of squares and triangles to create new designs. And when you add in different fabrics, the combinations become endless. Hi, I'm Andy and this is True Blue Quilts. And today we're going to be playing with stripes. So whether you use striped fabric or create your own stripes with jelly roll strips, we have some fun blocks to play with today. Let's get started. We can make some really interesting quilt blocks with striped fabric because the fabric is going to do all the work. First, we will cut squares, and this works with any size. Then go ahead and cut half square triangles. And simply rotate your fabric and this will create a block with a woven look. The challenge with this method is that we have now created bias edges on the outside of the quilt block. Bias will stretch easily, so you need to handle these blocks carefully when sewing and pressing. Of course, if you have more triangles, you can have more fun. So I am going to demonstrate by cutting these squares into quarter square triangles, but you could achieve the same effect with more half square triangles. Experiment by rotating the fabrics and see what different illusions you create with those stripes. We come up with two different blocks. One is more of a square, and that comes from the way we cut the half square triangle from our square. The other block has more of a V, and the square in a square comes from cutting in the same direction as your stripe, while the V comes from cutting across the stripes. So hopefully you can see that difference in these two blocks. This table runner is an example of the fun, scrappy type of quilt you can make when you collect a lot of different striped fabric and make these two blocks. Create your own striped fabric with jelly roll strips. Here I have 4 strips sewn together, and I'm cutting them into squares by positioning a horizontal mark on my ruler with the seam lines of the strip set. And then I can easily cut the squares based on the number of strips that I have sewn together. Next, we take our 2 blocks and cut them once on the diagonal. This gives us 4 triangles to play with and see what arrangement we can make with these blocks. It is similar to the woven square that we started with our small striped fabric. But let's see what happens when you cut more blocks. Looking carefully at this block, you can see that the color order of the stripes is different. So we need to cut our squares in two different ways. We're going to start with a downhill cut on one of the blocks. For the first cut, I kept the dark fabric on the left-hand side. Then I rotate and make an uphill cut. Rotate your squares so that all the small triangles form pinwheels, and that gives you a fun looking quilt with multiple blocks. Or put those small corners to the outside and you get a different look. We can also cut some squares from solid fabric to piece with our strip sets and make half square triangles, and that just extends our design options. Here I am at 4 times speed, the magic of video, showing you how I am marking the fabric and sewing 2 at a time half square triangles. Great for chain piecing multiple blocks and getting those half square triangles done quickly. Our first variation is going to look just like that woven block that we've been working with, just with the yellow corners there. And because we only cut one orientation, we don't have a lot of design options here, but we can rotate our blocks to make these fun parallelogram type stripes in our quilt. We can also put the small corners in the center and end up with a pinwheel. So let's move to EQ8 and I'll show you some quilt designs there. Here are the 2 different blocks you can get with the points out. Remember, the points are the little triangles. Or we can rotate those points to form pinwheels. And it just depends on if you have that dark fabric stripe on the outside of the block or towards the center. So have fun playing with strip sets. I hope you enjoyed that fun exercise of turning our striped blocks into different shapes, and I can't wait to see what you create. Please share your designs with me either by tagging me on social media at True Blue Quilts or sending me an email with pictures. I love show and tell. And if you are looking for more ideas of quilts to make with strip sets, check out this video next.